So again, greetings and shalom and salam ta. Yohannes wolde amanuel here, and coming forward to you on this recording, and I have to make my apologies to any other brothers and sisters, and those, of course, who will hear this in the forward, as even I myself taken a bit of personal time, even with the challenges here on these shores, to observe, certain fasting principles in the best way that I can, at least from this, it's of course special time and season. But really just to explain a bit more on this point, as we have entered into the third assignment, Shabua, of the fast of Abitom, Talak Utom, or Hudade, commonly known, especially amongst many of the Ethiopian Orthodox, Beta Christian, or the Christians, the Judeo-Christians of the East, and even certain other sects of Orthodox Christianity there in the Eastern Hemisphere as well. But just to bring that forward again, if one's had a chance to check out on RastafariRenaissance.com, you may have been a little more privy to a little bit more of these, or maybe you heard Ras Yefdeyah there on Rastafari Sabbatical, or the older Ethiopian world.net on YouTube speak about many forms and versions of Hudade Tufasika. So more so to just elaborate more and give a little definition to the term and this season which we have entered. It really shows the Lenten season, which ones would know from mostly the Roman Catholic tradition, but of course we know that Roman Catholicism does not precede the Ethiopian Orthodox or the Ethiopian Christian inception, and which really stems from the 3rd century A.D. So Roman Catholicism doesn't play its part mostly, and really draws from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and that original Christianity, in even defining terms as Lent, or the Great Fast. And even so, in the Roman perspective, this Lenten season is usually only about 40 or so days, but here in the Ethiopian or Orthodox tradition, it more stems to 8 weeks or 55 days approximately. And usually during this time, many observers are at the least the young children are about 13 years of age, so well at bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, wolde te'izaz, or welete te'izaz age, and usually have the option of participating at this point in abstinence of certain food products and certain actions, or more so keeping within the fasting and prayer vigil in this very important time of year. It's a renewal, of course, of the faith, so to speak, and even more so keeping that into its perspective. We'll tie that in to the Hebraic mode of this, as well as it, of course, is during this season and this Moedim, this appointed time, that we, of course, look forward to Pesach, or Passover. And even before we actually get to Passover, I know many ones, of course, out here in the world, the whole new quote-unquote theme, of so to speak, especially of yesterday, many ones had come across this International Women's Day quote-unquote celebration, or made-up theme, or whatever, what have you at this point. But it's mighty funny that they choose to make this a commemoration at this point about women and their contribution to society here on these Western shores. Because even so, today, in this eve, as we are gathered here for the Upper Room of Zion as well, we commemorate the fast of Esther. So really more so according to the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 16, where Hadassah, this is her original Hebrew name. Esther Aster is not her real name. So just and even more so tying that into many of the brothers and sisters inquiring about common law name changes and name corrections, so on and so forth, and changing the name legally. All of these things tying into that, even so to speak, and having that reserve and forthrightness to come forward and really begin to understand in a more in-depth position about actually reclaiming or reclamating their original names from their original tongues, and their original heritage. So even so, a funny point just to put that forward here as our Queen Esther, and in keeping to just the study that I of course has completed now in a 3-part series of the Arabic, Hebrew, and Amharic, just showing forward that in a case study, Queen Esther would be more so Hadassah's title and honorific name. We have to remember again Mordecai, who was a family member, of course, and very close confidant of, and more so caretaker of Esther, Hadassah, more formally known, gave her that name to utilize so that she could conceal her Hebraic and Judaic identity. So this is even more so what the fast of Aster, which is a 3-day fast coinciding with Abitzom, and leading up to Purim. And Purim, of course, is the story really brought about around, in a historical reference, put towards Mordecai and Esther, and also dealing with King Ahasuerus and Haman. So even just going to the book of Esther and reading that again, it would really put a lot of things into perspective for once. But focus verse of the fast, which coincides with today, is chapter 4 of the book of Esther, verse 16, as Esther, of course, upon learning the plight of her people as she was preparing, to become the king's wife, of course, still concealing her Hebraic and Judaic identity, from all in the realm that, of course, were there at the king's court. She was persuaded, and I would say more so just put on notice from Mordecai about her family, her plight, with her family's plight there, and what ones would know as Iran or Iran, which in ancient times was known as Persia. So Persia, very interesting, even in of itself. Just before I conclude to this, just a little segue, as even so, Iran, of course, has been in the news much lately. And even so, from the times of the Ferguson protests, and some would say riots, but more so protests, and even the Iranian leader, they're having his say and many criticisms of the establishment of that time, especially with many of the police shootings and a lot of the cases being dropped, and just certain things continuing to play out on not only a geopolitical stage but a social stage as well here on these shores, and even so many other leaders, particularly in this case Iran, having its say at that time, and seeing that it seemed to have come up again in this instance, especially over the past couple of months, and back on the radar of many news outlets and things of that nature, intended to, just, flash like headlights again in this time as we look forward to, just the fasting and praying season and the renewing of our faith leading up to Fasiko or Pesach. So just to put that forward and, just a short set defining terms, first words on this evening, and the gathering for ones, of course, who will be here for the Upper Room of Zion of the URZ on Blog Talk Radio. Hopefully we will be able to go a little more into that point. But again, keeping that in perspective, the fast of Aster coinciding with Abitzom, or the fast, the Great Lenten fast, leading up to Fasika Pesach. And even so, with many of our readings from the Good Word and the Good News coming there from the New Covenant readings, and also the Psalms. I think that's Psalm 69 here, and more so into the, again, as I mentioned from the outlet and the outset here, we entered into the third, the Sostenia Summit, Shilishi Shibua, leading into this event of, or this time, and this reason for the season of this time of fasting and prayer and renewing, of our faith and commemoration, of certain historical events in this time. So ones would do themselves well to search these things out a bit more, but hopefully we'll expound even more so here on the podcast, so ones can get a bit more information and really so put into practice certain things that will, of course, help and aid them in their studies and also their growth, of course, spiritually, and mentally.